For one, this is part 2 of lesson 1.2, and our first problem says we're simplifying powers. What is the simplified form of the expression? So let's say we have 10 to the 7th. We know that the exponents mean repeated multiplication, so I can write it as 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That gets so crazy. So can't I just, honestly, to me, exponents is shorthand for repeated multiplication. I love it because of that. On your homework, I do not care if you write out the repeated multiplication. Matter of fact, if you just want to plug it into your calculator, if you have something like this one, I can put 10, and then I gotta find, yx 7, and that's gonna give me the 10 million. Okay. And I could figure that out because actually there's 7 zeros in here. Because anything with the base of 10, it's going to be the number of zeros. The exponent tells you the number of zeros. But I could also plug it into my calculator and have it up there as well. So my answer is 10 million. Okay. Looking at this one, 0.2 to the 5th. I can write it out as 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2. That just gets so tedious, but it does mean repeated multiplication. And again, if I plug it into my calculator, I'm going to get 0.0032. So on this one, I'm going to type in a dot or decimal to the yx, and hit the 5, and I'm going to come up with 0.00032. Okay. What about fractions? What about fractions? 1/2 to the 4th. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. Because if I plug in 1 ABC 2 to the 4th and hit it, it's going to give me 1/16 because of the 1. So, but if it was like, let's say 2 ABC 3 to the 4th. It would usually have to put it in parentheses, but apparently on these calculators you do not. That's interesting. Okay. So 1/2 to the 4th is 1/16. Try these. Try 3 to the 4. 2/3 to the, let's go, second, and 0.05 to the 3rd. Go ahead and pause the video and work these out. Notice how, assuming you work these out, notice how if they were in decimal, I left them in decimal. If they were in fraction, I left them in fraction. 3 to the 4th is 81. And 2/3 to the 2nd is 4/9. And then 0.05 is 0.125. Okay, looking at problems. We're going to simplify numerical expressions. What is the simplified form? We're going to be using PEMDAS. And this all goes back down to rules, and oh yeah, rules. Okay, so what is the simplified form of each expression? This is problem 2 in your guys' book. Well, if I look at this, if I have 6 minus 2 cubed divided by 2, remember in PEMDAS it's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So I need to do parentheses first, don't I? Okay, well, if I look inside the parentheses, what's inside the parentheses? Subtraction. So we simply subtracted inside the parentheses. And 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay, so now we gotta do, now we have a cube outside this, right? So what's our next step on here? We just took care of our parentheses. Now we go to exponents. Good. 4 cubed is 64. And then what's left? Dividing by 2. And it's 32. Let's take a look at this guy. This guy's one of my favorite ones. Here's why. Well, we know we have a fraction, right? In the top part of the fraction, also called the numerator, we have 2 to the 4th minus 1 over 5. And the 5 is in the dungeon, or the denominator. Well, aren't they in groups? Isn't the top part a group? And isn't the bottom part a group? And anytime I have a groups, I always show it with parentheses. So I could write this one out theoretically as 2 to the 4th minus 1 over 5, and put the 2 to the 4th minus 1 in parentheses. Therefore, it's showing me that I really need to do the top first. Okay, so what is 2 to the 4th? It is 16 minus 1 is 15 over 5, which we know reduces down to 3. This goes back to stuff that you guys have been doing for many years. Many years. If you need help with this, holler, okay? Because if you don't have this stuff down, you're not going to be able to move forward to do other things. Alright? So let's take a look at another one, and then I'll let you go and try some on your own. Let's take a look at this one. We have 2 to the 4th minus 8, and then we have 6 plus 2 on the bottom. Now keep that in mind that when you're in the numerator and the denominator, you're in 2 different locations of the house. You are actually in groups. Okay, so I could, again, showing that these are groups, I could write it as parentheses. Therefore, it is showing that the numerator is a group and the denominator is a group. And what does PEMDAS tell us that we have to do? We have to do what's inside the groups, right? We have to do what's inside the parentheses. So the exponent is in here as well. So we had to realize that exponent comes first before subtraction. So we did the exponent. 2 to the 4th is 16 minus 8. And I came up with 8 over 8 because can't I go ahead and do the bottom since it's only one operation? Yeah. And what's 8 divided by 8? It's 1 divided. Or it's 1. And the reason why I was able to get that is because I divided at that point. Let's look at this one. Try this one out on yourselves. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one. 5 times 7 minus 4 squared divided by 2. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one out. Alright, assuming you pause the video, let's take a look at it and see what you came up with. I hope you would have came up with 27. Because that would be the correct response. I'm hoping that you would realize, hey look, I have no parentheses. So if I was using PEMDAS, not if I was using, if I was writing it out, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, there's no parentheses. So what's next? Exponents well, is there exponents? Yes. We have 4 squared. What is 4 squared? 16. Okay, so that takes care of that. This is exponents. Simplify exponents. Okay, so that takes care of that part. Then it says to take care of multiplication. Well, 5 times 7 is 35, so this is multiplication. Then it says to go ahead and go down to, it says to take care of multiplication and division at the same time. But since multiplication was on the left-hand side, I did multiplication first. And then it comes down to division. Well, division is 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So that's division. And what's left? Well, 35 minus 8 equals 27. So subtraction. I hope you guys saw that and understand that. Let's do a couple more. Let's do this one. We have 4 plus 3 to the 4th over 7 minus 2. Now again, go ahead and pause the video and work this one out on your own. Assuming you have worked this problem out, what's the very first thing that you need to realize? You need to realize that the numerator and the denominator are groups. They're groups. So I can put those guys in parentheses. Doing so would really solidify that, hey, my top number, or my top part of this fraction is a group. The bottom part of that fraction is a group. And I can signify groups by putting them in parentheses. Okay, so of course exponents come first, so simplify exponents. What did I do next? Who can tell me what I did next? Good, I added in parentheses. Whoops. And then I subtracted in parentheses. And then last but not least, we divided. Hey, I hope you guys came up with 17 on your problem. If you didn't, then go back and see where you made the mistake. And if you still need help, let me know. And I think that concludes, oh, it does. It concludes part 2 of 1.2.